What good would it do for me to try to convince you of anything? What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. What are you talking about? The nose? Seeing past the nose. This video's title, under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. There are 4 sides to In The Image Clothing Company. Very intentional and purposeful is why we film so much under the gift of video. Today's the 14th of February, 2026. It's actually Valentine's Day, okay? For those of you that do something on Valentine's Day, there you go, Valentine's Day, okay. Seeing past the nose is this video's title. What we do under In The Image Clothing Company's main side here is we allow the human body to work. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and there's no opinion to that. It's always been the exact same. Bones are the only shape they are, the only length that they are. Bones connect to each other directly through ligaments. There's a thin layer of cartilage between these bones that are immovable by themselves, except where they connect to another bone, and then there's a hinge joint with only the natural full range of motion to the hinge joint. And muscles connect to bones through tendons, and they only pull directly in line. And that first part of that sentence was a point. Maybe it wasn't the first part of the sentence, but they only pull. The human body only pulls. Is a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Even when we think we're pushing, we're just pulling muscles on the back side of a hinge joint to extend the hinge. We pull muscles on the inside of a hinge joint to close the hinge, like the elbow. Triceps pull to extend, the biceps pull to close the elbow on either side. We have opposing muscles, but there's a center or a neutral to all the functioning, and opposing muscles pulling against that center to stabilize in the center. That's how the human body works, even just standing. We either lean left or lean right from the center, Earth's vertical pole of gravity that never changes, perpendicular with its horizontal surface we stand on with the bottom of our feet. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, is the same thing as our feet being barefooted. There is only one way the feet work. Also, there is only one way the hands work. And everything in the body, but those 2 things, the feet and the hands, the way I said it there, are video titles under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here that I filmed in beautiful St. George, Utah, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company back in November of 2025, me, Evan Strong. So, there's only one way the human body could ever work. We've got a center line, by the way, okay. The sternum, the bone in the front where the ribs connect into, and then the ribs wrap around the body and connect into the spine in the rear, in the center line. A lot of little bones stack called vertebrae to create motion in the spine. Ideally not too much torsion, twisting, okay. Yeah, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. Things in the center of our body, and there's more things that we could say are in the center of our bodies, but, you know, the jaw's stabilizing the entire body. The body has to stay centered. But this is the thing is, why are we a clothing company? Anything that clothes the human being at all is clothing. Something placed onto us physically is placed onto us physically. And there's only one way the human body could ever work. No opinion? How could you possibly train the human being to do anything else when the bones are always going to continue to be the same shape that they just grew to be? The only end is to allow God's design of the human being to work, or on another 4th of In The Image Clothing Company, let God's design of the dogs stay natural. In The Image Clothing Company, poodles is another one of our 4ths, and we specialize in purebred standard poodles. Dante here is a standard poodle. There's Dante's slip lead in the tree there, just in case we need to restrain him. Dante's a very good, obedient dog. Letting dogs stay natural is the same thing as allowing the body to work here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Collars, leashes, and harnesses, similar things like this, slip leads, bandanas, whatever you place onto a dog, is clothing the dog with something. Like anything we place onto the human being, glasses, hats, shoes, pants, socks, undergarments, jewelry of any kind. Anything at all placed onto the body is clothing the body with something. The way that God clothes the fields with grass. We're designed in the image of God. In the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company here. That's our 5-word company name, In The Image Clothing Company. because there's a universal human design. So we have to allow it to just be what it is, even if you've got an amputation, a deformity, a birth defect, or a major surgery that has altered your body quite a bit, a little bit, or sets you apart quite a bit or a little bit. We're all different slightly where we are. There is a universal human design, though, because there's a universal centered pull to gravity. We're all on the same earth. We're all human beings designed by the same God, Jesus Christ, and so you don't have to be religious. But there's another fourth of In the Image Clothing Company titled In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, and we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things, because things are always there before you even know about them, if they are. So you can just find out what they are, but your opinions don't get to decide what the thing you have an opinion on is. It was already there to have an opinion on it. Okay? Any beliefs about where we came from can't be decided after we got here from where we came from. We're already here to be able to develop a belief. The airplanes, they fly overhead nowadays on the 14th of February, 2026. So sometimes I just wait out the airplane noise to make it just, not quite as loud. Okay, I could film these videos anywhere. I understand. So, clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. But on In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we have 204 as of a couple nights ago. Okay, date marked episodes of our podcast, yeah. We discuss just life, just insights on life as it is, because I don't get to decide, so don't believe me. The founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, don't believe In the Image Clothing Company's information or any of our team members or any of our poodles. We will have many as time progresses. Don't believe us because truth is truth, regardless of if we even know about it or not. It doesn't change it. And then once we know about something, our opinions on it don't change it. So, and we don't get to decide things that are already there and true. Another name for God is the truth. The same yesterday, today, and forever. God is unchanging. We change as human beings. I change a lot, often. Okay? Airplane noise. Seeing past the nose. We'll get to it. Okay? I'll discuss it as thoroughly as I discuss it in this video. I'm in this for life. Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We just discuss things that aren't our choices, so they last forever. Okay, the information we give. Ideally, everything we say is just truth, but we're imperfect human beings. And that's the point, is God's perfect. So we have to rely on a perfect God because we're imperfect humans. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to rely on anyone or anything if we could be perfect. Just do it yourself, right? Doesn't work, though. Airplane noise, I get it. I also don't know how loud it is necessarily in the microphone, but I also understand that there's just like part of this wall being seen in the camera lens, but we do it as we do. Blunt, bold, raw, and real In the Image Clothing Company. It's about the information in here, and you can get it if you want. That's why I'm making these videos, and have made about 1,000 videos as of today's date, the 14th of February, 2026, branded under our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company, because I am in this for life, and so we have built a beautiful foundation. We do so much under the gift of video. We do so much living up Utah, here in the state of Utah, the United States of America. We do things in nature because nature is awesome, okay? The goal is natural on all 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company. The only thing that exists is natural. The only way you can have unnatural things is if you take it from a natural thing and alter its state, okay? Unnatural. Synthetic, artificial, these are things in our clothing and our food and our things we interact with in life in modern 2026 and going forth. It's only going to get worse. And yes, the proper word there is worse. It's been prophesied about for thousands and thousands of years. Those prophecies line up and are coming true, okay? As they do in the gospel or good news of Jesus Christ or God, okay? So, you don't have to be religious because I'm not. But there's truth to life only. And his name is Jesus Christ. Don't believe me. Seeing past the nose, okay? I'm going to get to it. But, yeah. It is what it is, the human being. So we've got clothing that has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company. It's not our opinions, but we've got joints of body parts as well as we've got joints of material, or seams of body parts and seams of material needing to mesh because there is a universal human design. And boy, you probably hope so once you go to the doctor and hope that they can fix you because they know how somebody else's body works, right? There is a universal human design. Our information under In the Image Clothing Company, if we're aligning it with truth, is something we could never take credit for, but also it is universal and unchanging. If it's aligning with Jesus Christ. No opinion, okay? That could possibly be had on that could matter. It's not my choice. But we have to see past the nose, okay? Clothing has to fit properly. We've got to have clothing. The airplane noise, I just don't know how loud it is in the microphone, like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like being quiet in times when it's not really even harder to hear me, over the airplane noise, potentially. I don't really know until I listen to it back, but unnatural materials can only come from natural materials. Synthetic materials can only come from natural materials. Artificial can only come from natural. And these things always will decompose back to natural. The goal is natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. That's what I was saying. And it just has to be the goal, because it's the only thing that actually exists. We can take things from natural and make them something else until they go back to natural, but just leave them natural if we can, right? So clothing needs to, in all the ways we can have it be, made from 100% natural materials. It's all that ever happened until just tens of years ago from today's date, 14th of February, 2026. Stretch often comes with these unnatural materials. It's new in clothing only decades ago from today's date, the 14th of February, 2026. Okay, stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. Muscles can only pull to work. They can only contract, fire, or get closer together. The muscle fibers themselves through an electrical system sent from our brain fire and get closer together. That's how the body works. And we've got opposing muscles from the center line of the body and opposing muscles on each side of a function in the body. Internal rotation or external rotation from the neutral. In the fingertips to the elbow, okay? Two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, they rotate, internal or external. We lock the hand out from the shoulder at the elbow by straightening the elbow, and the hand, we could say, becomes the shoulder, but it's been the shoulder the entire time. The hand does exactly what the shoulder does when they're locked out from what's between them, which is the elbow, okay? From the foot to the knee, in the lower leg, there's a tibia and a fibula, like in the forearm, the radius and ulna. Two bones that allow for internal rotation or external rotation. The neutral being those pinky toes straight forward. We have different length toes. Why would it matter if I was trying to convince you of anything? Who would that help? Just to be clear. I know a lot of people in my own personal life have a big problem with what I'm doing under In the Image Clothing Company. They think I have some claim or something. Well, find out then all the lies I'm telling and spread it to everyone. But I'm publicly posting these on the internet. I don't get to decide these things. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. It's the only thing physically placed on us. We're just working around it. Gravity's got the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. Gravity's pull never changes. It's vertical. Okay? So, the lower legs do have internal rotation or external rotation from the foot to the knee. And then we lock the foot out from the hip, like we lock the hand out from the shoulder, but we straighten the knee, and now we've got internal rotation or external rotation happening all as one from the foot to the hip, okay? But there's a neutral pinky toe straight forward with our different length toes, neutral pinky fingers straight out from the outside of the forearm with our different length fingers. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work, and there's just no opinion to it that could ever be had. I don't get to decide it, so don't get after me, okay? Looking past the nose. The thing is, there's a lot of imbalances in clothing. Oh, seeing past the nose. Because you can look past your nose all you can, but you have to be able to see evenly past your nose. We just get into chronic patterning in the body. Bone spurs build up and scar tissue builds up. When we're trying to work around clothing, the only thing physically placed on us, anything that clothes our bodies at all. It doesn't matter what kind of fashion you're into. Maybe you're not into fashion at all. Maybe I'm not into fashion at all. There's a lot of imbalances in clothing, though. Oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind, like seams and collars. We talk about the dreaded collar seam modification under In the Image Clothing Company. Rotated seams with modern machinery, robots, stitching clothing. Clothing goes down a conveyor belt, is stitched in one direction, gets flipped around and is stitched in either the same direction or the opposing direction on the other side. But gravity just pulls straight down on our clothing, like the side seams of our tops, the side seams of our pants. They need to be able to pull straight down with gravity, or really gravity is pulling them straight down. And if the seams are rotated, it's twisting our bodies. The seams are placed onto our bodies. Okay. Any kind of thing like this, though, ropes or drawstrings, you know, shoelaces, or anything that's not a rope, because those two things are ropes, shoelaces and drawstrings. Tying anything, though, on the body, one side over the other, well, you're going to twist the entire body, because you're just putting one side of something over the other and then tucking it underneath and pulling tension on it. Okay. Yeah. So we get into chronic patterning. Our body's just trying to work around these things, and our bodies can't work around these things. Not really, without compensation happening. There's only one way the human body could ever work. How it is activated as a whole. All together working, everything's got its own individualistic role to play. Everything has a different function. Okay, that's the same thing, but that's the point, is something with a different function can't make up for something else, because that's where the word different comes in. They've got separate reasons for being there. Dante, if you get to see him in this video, he's just laying down here, sleeping right now. He's a standard poodle, but dogs or animals in general, you don't see them working out or stretching for, you know, increment of time to try to elongate their muscles. That doesn't make sense. There's muscles on both sides of a function. We just don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but once we know something, there you go. Okay. Our bodies are imbalanced. We live in a right-handed world. Okay, 85%, give or take, of human beings are right-handed. And so, with our bodies having these rotations from the neutral and from the center line, or it's gravity, and then just also bones only being shaped the way that they are, having to mesh in line or they're just damaged. There's no opinion to it. Okay, just by the way, you just don't have to care about clothing is what I'm saying. But if you care about your body, you're never going to get it to do anything unless you physically alter how it is permanently, you know. You just have to allow it to be what God designed it to be. I mean, you've got an amputation or deformity, birth defect, or major surgery. Like I was saying, we've got things like plastic surgeries properly used, or prosthetic limbs to balance out the weight with Earth's gravity when you've maybe lost a limb on one side of your body, or, you know, were born without one. We just have to do all that we can to get as close as we can to the universal human design because of things like Earth's gravity. Things like breathing. Okay, breath is the essence of human life, and it takes the entire body to some degree to stabilize in every breath we take. Our ribs actually bend. The rib cage expands and contracts in 360 degrees. Even though they're bones, most all bones are immovable by themselves in the body, the bones of the ribs actually bend to cage the lungs and allow the lungs to expand and contract within them. So clothing has to just be on the body properly, okay? But we don't get to decide where that is. As human beings, we didn't design the body, so we have no say over it, really. So, what I mean by seeing past the nose is a lot of what I mean by some of these video titles under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. The importance of even ears, the importance of the corners of the mouth, the importance of even nostrils, the importance of even eyebrows. Eating and drinking with the left hand, really just meaning non-dominant because our jaw is stabilizing our entire bodies. The importance of even jaw musculature. Okay, the jaw is the shoulder. We can go wherever we go with our 450 something videos here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company as of the 14th of February 2026 today. Reference anything that could be affecting the face of the human being, but even oversized clothing. You know, oversized clothing is pulling down on the body. Oversized clothing makes life hard. The epidermis, okay, oversized tops and the collarbone. Not, that's not titled not, but the importance of not pushing or pulling on the ears. Okay. These are some more video titles under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. about the actual head, the skull of the human being, because the skin of the entire body is the same on all of it. The same skin on the tip of your heads, the same skin on your fingertips and the tips of your toes, all the extremities. And our skin has a certain level of elasticity, okay, meaning its ability to move. So we can bend the wrist down, and the skin on the back side of the wrist has to have enough what we call elasticity to accommodate for the ability for the wrist to move. And then on either side of anything like that, like on the elbow, on the knee joint, but every part of our body that's covered in skin, which is our entire bodies, if yours individually is, right? But within the universal human design, this is the point, is we'll pull down on the skin from the very top of our head through our whole face, all the musculature in our face, and our ears will be pulled down, and our whole skin on the back of our head. The scalp is the skin covering the top of our head where our hair follicles are and grow through, okay? If we're wearing clothing that's just too big for us and being pulled down with Earth's gravity, well, the shoulders have a neutral height, and the shoulder's neutral height is the elbow's neutral position as well. The shoulder and the elbow are directly connected through the upper arm bone or humerus, which is an immovable bone vertically like this. The elbow at the natural waist, above the hip bones, but below those lowest ribs, where there's no bones on our body there until we get into the center line at the spine, which is actually where we bend side to side, and where our pants sit at the natural waist there, slightly higher in the front than the rear. Okay, so they don't fall lower in the front and take our hips with them, bending them excessively on Earth's vertical gravity pull. Okay, the neutral to the hips is the same as the bottom of the feet on the flat surface of our Earth. Okay, you can go uphill or downhill only from the horizontal surface of the Earth. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, is just flat on the bottom of the shoes. The neutral from pointing the toes, plantar flexion, or lifting the toes, dorsiflexion. It's the same angle when we travel up to the hips, from posteriorly tucking our pelvis or our hips underneath us excessively, or anteriorly rotating our hips away from us, like we're bending or hinging at our hips. There's a neutral between there. And so we just keep our pants very slightly higher in the front. They could be exactly horizontal, but if they're very slightly higher in the front, we do what we can to ensure they don't fall any lower in the front and pull on our pelvis the direction our hips already bend. Okay, hips and pelvis, same thing. Okay, two different names for the same thing. So the elbows at the natural waist is the same thing traveling up the upper arm bone, which is just an immovable bone, to the shoulder. Now we have the shoulder at its neutral height. Okay, the shoulder is just three bones: the collarbone or clavicle in the front, the upper arm bone or humerus on the arm, and then the scapula or shoulder blade on our upper backs behind the rib cage. Okay, so there's only one way the human body could ever work. Tops need to sit where the top seams are behind the peak of our shoulders. Okay, our shoulder seams on top of our shoulders, they need to be evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, because our shoulders only ever work behind our head. Mechanically, that's just where they connect. The sternocleidomastoid connects behind the ear from the collarbone or clavicle and sternum up to that mastoid on the head behind the ear. The upper trapezius that vertically support the shoulders, as well as the sternocleidomastoid, they connect to the spine in the rear of the body and to the very base of the rear of the skull. And, you know, we talk about these things often, and I'm just giving context before I get into talking about seeing past the nose, because how could that have anything to do with clothing? Well, it's the same way that the importance of even nostrils has everything to do with clothing. Okay, so the edge seams of our tops need to sit as close as we can get right to the edges of our shoulders, because there's just joints of three bones there, and then there's joints of material as well. The body can only function in the places it can function. You know, it's just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock and space that is our Earth, the human being. We didn't design it. And if we're trying to work around clothing, like oversized tops and the collarbone. You know, like the shoulder is the jaw, like the importance of snug collars, like keeping collars centered. You know, these things up around the jaw and the mouth and then the nose and then the head, like, which those are video titles under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, by the way. The neutral head position, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. The natural curve in the spine. Okay, some more videos. Under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here that pretty well directly correlate with seeing past the nose. Okay. We have two sides to our bodies. The nose is one of the things in the center. We put a lot of focus on the jaw under In The Image Clothing Company because it's in the center. It is the shoulder directly through musculature and tendons, which is going through the collar of our top clothing, okay? And the nose is also right in the center line of the body. The nose is breathing, okay? The jaw is eating, eating, stabilization of the entire body, breathing and speaking, and whatever else we could say the jaw does to play into the rest of the entire body. The nose is breathing, and that's the essence of human life. The nose is also something that affects our sense of sight because it's right between our two eyes, okay? Airplane noise, I get it. Yeah, so you can, and I'll explain what you can do when it's time to speak more about that after the airplane noise is not quite as noisy. Maybe you can barely hear it. Maybe. You know, we're kind of tucked away in this little corner. That's the point, and that's the point of being kind of tucked away in this little corner as well. Just to do what I can to do at least a little bit to muffle out the surrounding sounds, just so you can hear the information I'm delivering in here fairly well, at least, right? It's the goal of doing things like this the way we do them, okay? Under In The Image Clothing Company. All right. What you can do is, as I've said many times, documented under the gift of video, watch me, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and we date mark most all the videos we make. You can see my body's visual and physical transformation only back to the human body's only normal, okay? After being in such deep patterning myself for so many years, you know, shoelaces, drawstrings tied unevenly and imbalanced, heels under my shoes on, you know, damaging my body, oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing, tags in clothing, always only eating with one hand, and just being in such a right-handed patterning in this right-handed world. You can watch my body change. I couldn't possibly claim it, and so that's the beauty of the gift of video, one of the beauties of it. There's a lot of beautiful things about why I call it a gift. The ability to film video, okay? We've got the internet nowadays that I can post it publicly, and every human who possibly has access to it can see it. Permanently documented. It's awesome, okay? Truly. Dante knows how awesome it is. You know what I mean, if you know what I mean. So here's the point. Okay, check the date marks if you'd like to try to find out what I'm trying to say there. I'm not being like secretive. It just is what it is. The point is, I love Dante with that. The other point is, though, with the nose, is we're breathing. And we are. Watch my nose, okay? Look at my nose move. Okay, what I said is look at my nose move. Your nose can move left and right. Your nose is just skin. It's cartilage. It's also a bone, only part of it, though. From like, you know, halfway down it, up, it's a bone. It's just part of the skull. But then the nose on the lower half, give or take, of it is cartilage. Same thing that our ears are made out of. Same thing that's between our bones to cushion them so they don't wear out. Just being a stick, connecting to a stick, essentially. Okay. We just have a thin layer of cartilage there, so the bones don't wear out, okay? They only track in line. Same with the muscles. They only pull directly in line to their endpoints called insertions. Well, yeah, tendons. They're called insertions. You can call them tendons, where the muscles connect to a tendon and then the tendon inserts to a bone is the point. There you go, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's always been the exact same. It always will be the exact same. Okay, But we just have to have context on why we're not functioning so well physically as human beings if we're not. You have to see past the nose, okay? We blow our nose. We maybe put glasses on our nostrils here, you know, well, between our eyes here at the top of the nose. We've just got skin surrounding our whole skull. We've got musculature all over our face, eyebrow muscles, cheek muscles, muscles on the top of the head, muscles on and around the ears. Well, when I say on the ears are mostly just cartilage. But yeah, I mean, I can wiggle my ears, you know, it's coming from musculature moving. I can move all the skin on the top of my head, my eyebrows, the corners of my mouth. Okay, the importance of the corners of the mouth, it goes right along with the importance of small utensils. We don't want to be cutting into the corners of our mouth. Look at the nose. The nose gets pulled on through eating, through blowing the nose, through oversized clothing, pulling down on the shoulder. The shoulder is the jaw. If we move the jaw, we move the nose. No opinion here. Watch it happen. Do it on your own body. Watch it happen. No opinion here, okay? The nose has to be centered. That's why there's that video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, the importance of even nostrils. And that's why I'm giving the context. You can watch me, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, and see my body visually and physically transform. The thing is, you can visually watch it, but then you can also see the physicality of it, the ability to move that I have, the quote posture unquote that I have, right? The mobility in the ranges of motion in all of the parts of my body that I have it. It's not some kind of show off thing. It's just to show the truth of what we're really doing here and why. And I have gone before any others who hear the information that I'm delivering, okay? Because I'm the one delivering this information is what I'm saying there. What I mean is what I'm saying, okay? And you can watch my face if you want under In The Image Clothing Company podcast. There's 204 episodes of that as of today's date, the 14th of February 2026. There, like I said, are around 450 videos under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here for the past little over 16 months of In The Image Clothing Company that you can watch me, Evan Strong, the one who's filmed every one of those videos. And you can see my face has transformed. Not just the rotations in my shoulders and my hips, not just the ability to drop into a low squat all the way down, you know, not just my posture change, okay? There's no such thing as posture, that's why I say it like that. The body has opposing bends to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and then the upper back, which is really the neck, bends forward. There's a lot of rocks that have been kicked out onto the parking lot right there from this landscaping. I didn't notice that until right now. You know, mathematics, physics, and mechanics are things we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company because you can measure it. Measuring Truth is an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. It's episode number 200. The truth is there's only one way the human body could ever mechanically, possibly, physically operate. There's a vertical pull of gravity and a horizontal surface to the earth. That's a 90-degree perpendicular angle, and then there's a center line to our bodies with two sides to it, okay? And just all the things we discussed, that's absolutely undisputed. The human body was designed by God to work. There'd be no reason it wouldn't unless there was a reason it couldn't. That couldn't could be anything, but if we physically place something onto it to clothe it with that isn't meshing with the only way the human body works, the human body can't possibly physically, naturally work around that. And so it tries to compensate and problems happen. You know, we have to address. Reshaping bones is actually a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. And we can reshape bones only back to their only inline tracking position. I said a similar thing earlier in this video, but just to be clear, only because they need to track in line, and wearing something like oversized clothing causes things to not track in line, and then we get pulling on bones and bone spurs build up. But there's still only one neutral, only one way the human body could ever work. It's mathematics. It's not my choices, okay? As prideful as I could sound when I speak so harsh, it's not my choice to begin with. So it doesn't really matter who's delivering the information. It's God's truth. It's not my choice, okay? There is only one way the human body could ever work. No sales pitch, no opinion, no claim. A lot of very, very thorough explanation on the truth of it, though, is what we already have as of today's date. Okay, 14th of February, 2026. And so here's just some more, because that's what we're here to do, is change the lives of human beings. Because we are all the same. And we have to see past the nose. Okay, but if we have oversized clothing and it's falling to our dominant side, being in this right-handed world, okay, it's just going to pull on our jaw. And then our jaw is just going to pull on our head. And our nose is in the center of our head. Our noses are breathing. Like I said, it doesn't matter what I say. But we have to breathe to live, or you die. You can go the least amount of time with breath out of anything ever as a human being. Okay, biblically, God breathed life into the nostrils of Adam, the first man. And there you go. Okay, breath. It's, yeah, the thing we have to have first, literally. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but it's the truth, okay? That's what I mean by truth. It's no opinion. No choice of a human being. It never changes either. The nose is in the center of the body. It's the skull. It's the structure of the skull for the top half of the nose. And then the, bottom part of it there is mostly just cartilage. But we talk about breaking up, if needed, cartilage in the ear when our ears get imbalanced, because the ears are just a gap between the rear of the lower jawbone, called the mandible, and then the skull back there, where that sternocleidomastoid muscle comes up and inserts to the mastoid of the skull, right behind the ear. And so we have things that can alter the ears nowadays by placing things into our ears, even, something like glasses placed onto the top of ears. We have things that get placed onto the nose, like glasses. But we also just have things that just pull on our nose, okay? From places you might not expect, like your feet. Imbalances in shoelacing and tying both shoes to the same direction in this right-handed world, okay? If you tie right-handed knots on both feet, you're twisting your entire body from the foundation of it up from a rope around your foot. Imbalanced drawstrings tied in a right-handed knot, okay, which is usually the left side over the other, is what we would call a right-handed knot, okay, because you use your right side to tuck it underneath and pull it tight. Right-handed knots versus left-handed knots is a video here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company that Dante and I filmed. He's just sleeping peacefully, okay, on the rocks. But we need left-handed knots on the right side of our bodies and right-handed knots on the left side of our bodies to keep us centered. It's just the nature of putting one side of something over the other side of something. It's mathematics, if you'd like to see it like that, so that you don't have to believe me on anything. Because what we say sounds so far-fetched to a lot of people, especially if you don't know just about anything about it yet. Well, neither did I until, a little bit before I founded In The Image Clothing Company. I was making all the same, what we could call mistakes, but they're not mistakes if we don't know they're a problem to begin with, okay? But they're a problem either way. Seeing past the nose, well, the nose has to be centered. If we pull on the musculature of our face, it's not going to be in the center. If you're pulling on it on one side, oversized clothing will just fall to your dominant side, being just encapsulating your body, and you're just pulling on the material as you move your right shoulder, really your right hand up to your shoulder, because the hand is the shoulder, okay, directly. They're the same thing, really, okay, connected is what they are. The body's a kinetic chain. It's all connected. It's all there. So it all has to work together, or else we're trying to drag around dead weight, and that damages the body, okay? Man. Yeah, plus you just have something not playing its role, and then, damage to the body. So, no, it's like what I say when I say the core can never deactivate. It's not some kind of, perfect world thing. The core is just the center of the entire body. If the center of it's not stabilized, the rest of it can't really be stabilized. Okay, like the core of an apple. It's the center of an apple. It's where the apple literally stems from, because that's where the stem of the apple is. It's where the seeds of the apple are that then grow out from there, okay? That's the core of a human being. It just needs to be unaltered, and it was designed to work like the core of animals, okay? What I'm saying is all of these things, anything at all, imbalance-wise in clothing, that's going to pull our bodies off to one side or the other, and then living in this right-handed world, we'll be pulled off to the right side, okay, if you're right-handed. But even if you're not right-handed, there's products designed to be used with one hand over the other, right? Meaning just one hand usage instead of two hands. They'll be right-handed with the design almost always. So even if you are left-handed, you do live in a right-handed world here on Earth. And clothing patterns themselves as well are shipped across the Earth nowadays in ways that they never could have possibly been in the past. So there's airplanes flying overhead right now. This is what I mean. That's one of the ways they get sent across the planet. It's through airplanes, okay? Whoa, I kind of almost fell backward there. Seriously. Dante. He's just laying on his side, just like all laid out. The sun's right on him. Which we're getting close to coming out of winter here in Utah, okay? Dante and I will move down to St. George, Utah, about 3.5 hours south from here, Utah County, where we currently are. And that's where we'll be based for life, as in the Image Clothing Company. We'll have our building there, we'll have our team there, we'll have our poodles housed there and bred there. And, you know, just do all that we do down there. Ship our products out from our building. It won't be a building you come into as a customer. That's just not how we're structuring things, as in the Image Clothing Company. But just context, and you know, within months from now, Dante and I will be in St. George, Utah. It's a true desert, beautiful sandstone, red rock, very hot in the summers, relatively warm in the winters. There you go, context, okay? Because we do a lot in nature, in-person events like poodle parade events or anything we do event-wise, but subcategories of poodle parade events like clean the creek or rid the rubbish, actually helping the environment of our planet Earth. Our focus is the state of Utah, with living up Utah under In the Image Clothing Company. But yeah, bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size, if you'd like, to poodle parade events, and we'll do what we do. Come for the event and why we're doing it, not for us as In the Image Clothing Company's team. But seeing past the nose, if you can't, you're affecting a few different things. You're affecting your breathing, because you will have imbalanced nostrils if your nose is off-centered. Okay, the importance of even nostrils, we have to breathe evenly in the right nostril and evenly in the left nostril. There's two sides to the center of the nose. The center is called the septum. We can have what's called a deviated septum. Deviation, or something being deviated, means moved off from where it should be. The center of the nose being moved out of center is a deviated septum. And I had one, big time. Again, documented under the gift of video, under In the Image Clothing Company content, all one word, essentially those 5 words there, In the Image Clothing Company. You can watch my face change, okay? And I've had to do things to rid patterning and break up scar tissue, but the true reason is because of clothing. Anything that is clothing the body is clothing the body. And I wore glasses for a couple years, 2.5 years maybe, in my early 20s, okay, around that time at least. Right around 20 years old, yeah. I wore oversized clothing for many years. Like I said, you know, had a lot of imbalances going on placed onto my body. That is why I have founded In the Image Clothing Company, because I know these things out of personal experience, trial and error, prayer and revelation, and we do have a universal human design. So these things do apply to you. There is a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company here titled Because You're Right-Handed. And I know a lot about you just because you are right-handed without ever having met you, because there is a universal human design and we're all on the same earth and we just interact with the same life. It's different where it is on this planet, but yes, okay. So there you go. Okay, the nose being pulled off center or deviated, that doesn't only affect our breathing, and it doesn't only affect just the center line of our body being slightly off-centered, but because of that, our visual system, the sense of sight, can't see evenly left and right past our nose if our nose is imbalanced, okay? We'll be trying to look past our nose, and if our nose is off-center, But let's say our eyes are evenly displaced from the center line of the body. We've got an imbalance there. And within this right-handed patterning, we are more rotated externally on the right side of the body, dropped lower. A lot of that is the collarbone or clavicle. As it comes up, it comes in. As it goes down, it goes out. Up and in is internal rotation, traveling down to the fingertips from the shoulder. Down and out is external rotation, traveling from the shoulder down to the fingertips. Because the collarbone or clavicle is connected to bone on either end. The sternum in the center line of the body in the front is one end of the collarbone or clavicle at the top of the sternum there. It comes up and out and becomes one of the three bones of the shoulder, meeting bone to bone directly on the other end of the collarbone as well. So, yes, dropped lower, more externally rotated and farther from the body on the right side is how we are in a right-handed patterning. That's what we would call a right-handed patterning, living in this right-handed world. Things like dreaded collar seams, anything making the circumference or the circular nature of the collar of your top not centered, that needs to be evenly centered around your neck. What really is neck pain is a video I filmed in beautiful St. George, Utah back in the fall of 2025, November. Yeah, okay, well, the neck has to be evenly opposing the center line because there's bone that the musculature is connecting to, which is the spine, which is in the center line of the neck. And many muscles under the jaw, from the jaw to the shoulder, you know, all throughout. Okay, stabilizing the head and allowing for speaking and breathing, lifting of the collarbones and the rib cage. But if we can't see past our nose in this right-handed patterning, if we're in one, even if you're in a left-handed patterning, it doesn't matter. If you're not centered is the point, over Earth's center of gravity. Okay, shoelaces, drawstrings, oversized clothing, rotated seams in clothing, whatever it is, just imbalances in any way. In the Image Clothing Company's pant zipper modification. And these are just some of the things, you know, we get really, really, really in depth with a lot of free modifications in clothing, but we will always have good clothing under In the Image Clothing Company to not alter the body, really to allow the body to work in the Image Clothing Company's main site slogan, and then dog products as well, okay, to stay centered and snug and fit properly and even and balanced and be light on the dogs, like collars and leashes, harnesses, slip leads, bandanas, whatever we get into. I'm not saying exactly what products we will sell at what time and when and how and if, but the if is yes, okay, just when it comes, okay, we're doing what we're doing here. And it's not about clothing, it's about the functionality of the human body, but clothing is the only thing physically placed on it. If we can't see evenly past our nose, then our eyes, being the visual system of our bodies, which we navigate through life with, if you can see. If you can't see, that's one thing. But even if you can't see, an imbalanced nose is still an imbalanced breathing that's traveling to your ribs. Okay, when I say your ribs, I mean your lungs, but they're encapsulated by your ribs. Okay, and your whole body down to your feet, out to your fingertips, to the tip of your head is just altered and damaged and imbalanced if any of it is. We just have to do all we can. We are all individuals. I get it. You know, I get it big time. I've had 2 full open heart surgeries and other minor heart surgeries. You know, I've had chronic patterning that was terrible, worse than a lot of people ever get into in their entire life by the time I was like 24, you know, years old. So I get it, personally, I really do. No matter how prideful I might sound, you have to see the context of where I'm coming from if you want the truth. As is anything in life, okay? There's only truth underneath all the opinions that could possibly come up on truth that was already there, okay? And we're navigating through life with our eyes, but if we have our nose in the center of our eyes off-balanced, we'll always be looking slightly off to the side that we can see out of better. And so you can't even get your physical skull centered if you're trying to use your eyes, your sense of sight, to navigate life. And in between them, you have an imbalanced nose, and you can't see past your nose. So that's the point. This video's title, under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, on today's date, the 14th of February, 2026, seeing past the nose. There you go. We have to see past our nose, evenly with the right eye, looking right and left and up and down and all to the corners. And then you have to be able to see past your nose with your left eye, looking left and right and up and down and all throughout all the corners and angles of anywhere you can look with your own eyeballs that actually are just moving independently. Probably not independently the way that a lizard would, but meaning there's one on either side of the face, and they're moving independently of the head itself, the physical skull of the human being. And so we have the videos, like I referenced, the importance of even eyebrows, okay? In this right-handed world, our right eyebrow can and does, in many cases, as was in my case, get much more dropped than the left because, as I said, the skin of the entire body is the same on all of it. And if we're pulling down on our shoulders from oversized clothing, we're pulling down on the skin of our eyebrows as well. And the musculature that's raising our eyebrows is being pulled down on by our shoulders or our feet. In shoe lacing, that doesn't even allow our feet to naturally grip arches inward evenly to oppose the center line of our bodies and keep us vertical on Earth's center of gravity. But that's where In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique comes in, one of our 2 prerequisites, in addition to just baseline where clothing sits, to not alter the body, because there is only one way the top of the feet are shaped. And if we're just weaving ropes across them, we just have to know how to shape a weave of a rope the way the top of the feet are mechanically shaped, with bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles all just doing the only thing they could ever do. Designed by Jesus Christ, it's not our choice, okay? If you want to stand and walk, if you can, right? If you want your feet, if you have them, to function as properly as they can, there you go. So we have to see past our nose. Otherwise, you'll have neck tension because you're straining your head to try to see something when you can move your eyes independently of your head to see it, but your nose is in the way. You'll have to move your head to accommodate, and it's not an accommodation. It's a compensation. Accommodation in the body is healthy. Compensation is unhealthy and problem. Okay, it's an imbalance. So here's an example of that. The shoulder accommodates for rotations by pivoting up and in on the collarbone or clavicle to get full internal rotation to just open up that shoulder capsule. That's when the hand becomes the shoulder. Really, it's been the shoulder the entire time, but locked out at the elbow. That's how they do the exact same thing, but they can't if the collarbone or clavicle from the sternum up here at the top of it out to the edge of the shoulder, which, yes, the collarbone or clavicle is one of the 3 bones meeting at the shoulder, becoming the shoulder. If it's at its low end of its neutral, then the arm can't straighten to have full range of motion throughout the arm, okay? Accommodation of the collarbone or clavicle is for the hand. Healthy, okay? Healthy accommodation to allow for functioning is different than unhealthy, imbalanced compensation with something in the body trying to do something else's role because something's not doing its role properly, and so it's trying to be made up for in ways that can't mechanically happen with the human body just being the mechanical machine that it is placed on Earth, okay? So there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. It's always been the exact same. It always will be the exact same. Okay. Before I was ever born, it was happening. And after I die, it'll continue. Okay. It's nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. But we don't want compensation happening anywhere. And our head will compensate for our eyes if our eyes can't look past our nose that's between them. So seeing past the nose, yep, just if your nose is imbalanced. It doesn't even matter what it is. Maybe you've just got a nose that's imbalanced and nothing ever caused it. Possibly, maybe, right? Maybe it's a birth type thing. It's just how your nose grew from birth. Well, the eyes need to work. Just because the nose is imbalanced doesn't make it okay. If you don't really think you want to care about your nose, well, you need to care about your eyes. And even if you don't think you want to care about your eyes, not being able to see evenly around or past your nose travels down to your feet, out to your fingertips and through your whole body. Because if you can't accommodate with your head to see past your nose, you'll accommodate with your foot to see past your nose. But accommodating with your head is accommodating with your foot Because if you rotate your head to one side to try to see past the nose that's imbalanced in the center of your eyes, your feet are still supporting your head. It's on the top of your body. It's about a 10-pound, give or take, weight of this ball that's being supported clear down there at our feet because of Earth's gravity. Okay? That's all I'm going to say in this video about the nose and seeing past it, okay? Seeing past the nose. That's how we'll title it, yeah. Wow. Okay, 4 sides to In the Image Clothing Company. I talked about In the Image Clothing Company poodles a little bit in here, but with letting dogs stay natural, it's basically the same approach as we have to allowing the body to work for human beings here on In the Image Clothing Company's main side. And I said this a little bit, but a lot of it is discussing how to hold leashes naturally so we don't alter our bodies as the owners of dogs, and taking accountability as the owners of dogs, being good owners of a dog, and how to keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at home. Dante here is a rescue, but advocating for rescuing dogs is not the first step, and it's not the fix to the problem. If dogs never ended up in animal shelters to begin with because they always stayed at homes, and I know always is a big thing, you know, to try to live up to, which we can't. But, right, doing all we can to keep dogs at homes, then there's no dogs in animal shelters to even adopt at all. They already have a home they're at, okay? So these are the kind of things we do, discussing proper breeding of dogs and the importance of purebred dogs for the health, not a prestige, okay? But that's why we will be breeding purebred standard poodles, okay? When we do, down in St. George, Utah, we'll get down there and we'll be able to do it properly. Once we're able to do it properly is the point, okay? So yeah, okay, under the gift of video, we'll show a lot of these things, why and how we are doing them, and really give a lot of good information. We just give a lot of good information, you know. Context over content is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, because as I've said before, you know, you can say anything, but can you explain it? Why does it matter who says what? What's the truth? Okay. Well, the truth is something we don't get to decide, but what is it in any given situation? So, in the Image Clothing Company music, we show a lot of the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the neutral wrist and the natural rounding to our hands, hand arches, if you will, correlating with the arches in our feet. And the hand arches, if they are altered, will alter the feet arches. And if the feet arches are altered, wow, yes, okay, the hand arches can be from there as well. Either end, the body just, you know, having to do all that it can to work all together. Okay, which makes sense once we have the context on how the body actually works. There is only one way the human body could ever work. Okay, not my choice. Rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, music, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages placed on In the Image Clothing Company music. I understand the noise if and where there is here in the video. That is not my voice delivering the information that the video is for, but it is what it is. Okay, so thank you, and goodbye.